You have 2 minutes to answer this. Oh, I'm sorry. That's the last one. You have 1 minute to answer this question. Do you believe charter schools should be allowed to promote other cultures over American culture? And do you support allowing charter schools to use the permanent school fund to guarantee construction bonds? Why or why not?
Would you read that again?
Do you believe charter schools should be allowed to promote other cultures over American culture? And do you support allowing charter schools to use the permanent school fund to guarantee construction bonds?
Okay, I have a little bit of a problem with them promoting other cultures if they are showing Americans in a bad light. Now I'll say this, that charter schools is one area I do need to get more familiar with. As I understand it, a charter school can get a charter if they are going to do something other than traditional education, like the Texas Can Academy works with the dropouts. I don't know if I wouldn't feel like a charter would be significant enough just to promote another culture in our country. I don't know that I would be on board with that. And you certainly have to, if that culture included religion, the charter schools cannot have any religious instruction because of the separation of church and state. And as for the permanent school fund, I don't know. I'm just going to have to think about that one more. I'm not sure.
All right. Pam, you have 2 minutes on this question. During the Social Studies Curriculum Standards Review in 2009-2010, the State Board of Education voted to make changes which some consider to be controversial. Do you support the changes made or not, and why? 2 minutes.
Okay. Well, I think a lot of it would depend on which changes that you're talking about. Do you have specific changes?
Just having to do with the Social Studies Curriculum Standards.
Okay.
What stands out to you?
Okay. There's a couple of things that stand out to me. First of all, I'm very supportive of that Celebrate Freedom or Celebrate America Week, whatever that is that they put in. I think that's huge, and I'm very supportive of the patriotic approach to that. A couple of things I've seen that I guess just sort of puzzle me is this past week I was looking at the kindergarten standards. And in the kindergarten standard, it talks about that kindergartner needing to have an understanding of the Constitution and know the difference between capitalism, communism, and socialism. And I think that's a little extreme that we would expect our kindergartners to have that much knowledge. I mean, there may be a different way that you could present that. And then I know there was a lot of complaint from the social studies group that there were too many, it was just too much, it was just too broad, and there were too many people that had been added, like personalities that had been added into the TEKS that may or may not have had anything to do with it, and they were just added because of a personal political agenda of someone. So those would be some concerns that I would have about the social studies TEKS.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. You have 1 minute to answer this question. Do you favor English immersion or bilingual education?
I would favor English immersion, and I favor that mainly to contribute to the success of the students. If they're going to be successful, they've got to get English mastered as soon as possible. English is the international language, it's the language of computers, it's the language of business. So I feel like we've got to get them streamlined into English just as soon as we can.
Number 10, you have 2 minutes to answer this question. What part of the TEKS, Texas Essential Knowledge and Skills, covers sex education? At what age level is this taught? Do you agree with it? And if you don't agree with it, what would you change?
Okay, I haven't specifically looked at that, but I'm going to say that that's going to be freshman, sophomore year in high school, and it would be covered under the health standards. I believe that for the state curriculum, we need to be abstinence only, and that's the way that curriculum needs to go. I don't see anything changing with that. I feel like that's important because that may be the only place that our students learn about abstinence. However, knowing that there is a huge problem with the teenage pregnancy rate, I would encourage a local district to look at something that they might need to layer on top of that abstinence only. But that would be a community decision based on your community's needs.
You have 2 minutes for this question. What is the importance of teaching the Magna Carta, U.S. Constitution, Bill of Rights, private property rights, and private business ownership?
I don't think there's anything more important than that. My background is social studies, and what I would really like to see social studies teachers move to doing is what I'm going to call making connections. When you mention the Magna Carta, when they're teaching the Magna Carta, they need to make a connection back to the Declaration of Independence. They need to make a connection back to the Constitution. When you're in world history and you're talking about the French Revolution, connect to Thomas Jefferson. There's all kinds of opportunities to do that. The 8th grade is where they teach the Constitution and the Founding Fathers, and that's that part of the curriculum. But, well, I guess they get a little bit of it in 5th grade. But we've really got to re-emphasize that more and more. And one of the things that I would like to see us get back to and get embedded in our curriculum is a work ethic, entrepreneurship. Those are the things that built this country. And I feel like today our kids just accept it and take these things for granted. And that should not be so. I'm very supportive, and especially from being a small business owner, I don't particularly like it when Uncle Sam keeps coming knocking on my door wanting things that are, I don't think he needs. I better hush. I better be quiet.
Okay. Pam, you'll have 2 minutes to answer this question. Several North Texas superintendents representing the North Texas Regional Consortium recently sent a letter to the State Board of Education and the governor with concerns about standardized testing. In the letter, they discussed, quote, relentless test preparation and boring memorization of facts. Do you agree with the low opinion of memorization, which is sometimes called drill and kill, that is common among many educators? And if yes, why? If no, why not?
I think there's a place for drill and kill, and that's the entry level. If you're familiar with Bloom's taxonomy, drill and kill is what's going to be at that lower level. But we've got to be sure that we move up that ladder. And my goal would be to get them into that little triangle of Bloom's taxonomy at the top, where there's more critical thinking. I think sometimes the drill and kill just, I don't know, I think it starts to bore the students. And right now our students are, we're in a real situation right now where we're going to have to start meeting our students where they learn, and that is technology. And sitting and doing worksheets is not going to do it for these kids. So we're going to have to move out of that and find other avenues to meet them where their learning style and their learning ability is. I feel like digital learning may become the next learning style up there with kinesthetic and audio or visual. So.
You have 2 minutes to answer this question. What does the current TEKS say about evolution and creationism? Do you agree with the current standards? And if not, how should they be changed?
Okay, I believe that the TEKS, and this would be in biology, they say that evolution should be taught as a theory only. And I do agree with that that's what we should be teaching. I personally believe in creationism. I'm a lifelong Christian. What I would like to see done is where we're having the discussion on evolution, we have some notes on the side where it says to the teacher, you may get asked about creationism, and you should probably refer your student to their clergy or other trusted adult to teach this. One of my concerns would be some of the teachers that we have out there with their worldviews today even teaching creationism. I think that would be a big problem. So I'm fine with those standards as long as when you teach that theory of evolution, you teach the pros and the cons of it. Where did that first cell begin? And hopefully our students can start the thinking process on their own and develop their own ideas about that. I do know that a lot of the well-known biologists are starting to find common ground between creationism and the theory of evolution. Dr. Ken Miller has actually written 2 books on it. One is called Finding Darwin's God, and the other one is It's Only a Theory. So we're moving, as a society, I think we're moving in a direction where hopefully that battle won't be so decisive and aggressive, and we can all learn to live with some of that.
Thank you.
Okay, question number 14. You have 2 minutes to answer this question. 45 states have adopted the Common Core Standards, which is a set of K-12 curriculum standards developed by a group of national organizations and supported by the federal government. States who adopt Common Core are being granted waivers from meeting certain No Child Left Behind goals. States who do not adopt Common Core may be penalized with the loss of Title I federal money for low-income districts. Do you support adoption of the Common Core Standards in Texas? If yes, why? If not, why not? And how would you address the consequences of non-adoption?
Okay. First of all, that's the governor's race to the top, right? And is that not supported by a lot of the governors? I think that's it's the governor's race to the top. Common Core Standards is what that is.
Yeah, I can't do any follow-up.
Okay, all right,
Sorry.
okay.
To be fair.
Okay. You know, I think it's fine that Texas has our own standards, and from what I have heard from the language arts and the social studies group, that they're very similar. There's not any much deviation. I have heard just recently, though, that the Common Core Standards are more rigorous in math and in science, and if that is the case, then that could be a problem for us. We need to be sure that we go back and look at our math TEKS and look at our science TEKS and be sure that we're getting the rigor built in there, because, as you said, one of the downfalls is going to be is, 2 or 3 years down the road, after the school districts and states have been involved with this and we begin a measurement process, where is Texas going to fall? If we fall to the bottom, then we're going to have some problems. So those are the problems that I see with the Common Core Standards, and us staying out of them, going with them. We just need to be sure that from the measurement standpoint that we can hang in there with the measurement.
You have 1 minute for this question. Should all history and government courses be required to reinforce the factual differences between a pure democracy and a pure Republican form of government?
Yes, I mean that's part of it's part of the social studies, so I would think it should be. Whether it's a pure democracy, although there have been very few pure democracies, but the Republican democracy. But yeah, they should. Yes.
Okay, Pam, you have 2 minutes to answer this question. Are alternative sexual lifestyles such as homosexual, bisexual, and transgender included in the text? If so, at what grade level and in what course subjects, for example, English, science, or social studies? And do you agree with the text on this issue?
I don't think that's included in any of the text. If it is, I would like to. I could not be supportive of a text that had those things in it, period. And I know that sometimes when you get into particularly some world history things, there's some relationships and things that from world history, personalities in world history, that comes out. I don't think that has any business being taught. I'm not supportive of that at all. And I'm surprised. If they're in the text, I'm very surprised. So we don't need that.
Okay, this is your last question. You have 2 minutes to answer. In traditional education, the teacher is the primary source of information and authority and disseminates knowledge. In constructivism, the teacher acts as facilitator, interacting with and assisting students to construct their own learning. Please state your philosophy on constructivism versus traditional education.
I'm much more the traditionalist side. It always puzzled me. I mean, we called it the fuzzy math, and it always puzzled me how you could give a child a math problem and expect them to answer it and you hadn't taught them anything. Now, however, having said that, I think that after you have